scored 8 points in only 9 seconds.
Yes, Reggie, you tell me all the time.
I'm starting to think we made the breakfast too good.
Breakfast in bed. I love it here. I may never leave.
Hustle in and make this Wendy's breakfast offer your new pregame ritual.
Boom, baby.
With McDelivery, getting your favorites like crispy chicken McNuggets is easy. Choosing your sauce, not as easy.
Enjoy 20-piece chicken McNuggets for just $5. And don't forget to pair it with a frozen drink.
The Masters is in November, and the course looks the same. Some friends went a week ago and reported back. I don't know exactly what to make of that. It's both jarring and pleasing. Very little else feels the same. In sports, in our personal, public, and civic lives. And yet somehow the folks at Augusta National have gotten the course ready for its annual close-up. The tall stands of pine trees certainly helped with that. They don't ever surrender to the reds, oranges, and yellows of fall. There are no seasons for pine trees. Everything is binary, alive and then not. And I guess there's some comfort in that. It feels simple, which feels good, which brings me back to the golf tournament starting this week in Augusta, Georgia. The Masters has always been primarily a magic trick. This green pastoral altered dimension 5 minutes from a Hooters, a welcome illusion played on a crowd eager for the escape of believing. That's why we are all drawn to it year after year, because nothing ever appears to change. Not the prices on the sandwiches, not the way the air feels during a Sunday charge. Bobby leads to Arnie, leads to Jack, leads to Tiger, who are all the same character in our imaginations. But this year, on the surface at least, everything has changed. It's not in the spring. There won't be crowds or roars, but as the tournament approaches, I find myself eager to suspend my disbelief, to live in a world where everything is still predictable, stable, controllable, where I know that whether the Masters is in April or November, the golf course will look the same as it always does, and that it will offer 4 days of a familiar ritual. And what is a ritual if not an offering? A way to both mark time and to feel like it is within our power to shape.
And welcome to Masters Week here at Augusta National Golf Club in Augusta, Georgia. The 84th edition of the Masters Tournament set to tee off 7 months after it was originally scheduled in April. Will be the first time since the inaugural event back in March of 1934 that the Masters will not be held in the month of April. But a green jacket will be handed out here at the end of the weekend. There you see a look at the practice range for the tournament players here at Augusta National. Jon Rahm, Patrick Reed, Adam Scott, Bryson DeChambeau, some of the players going through their preparations today. Of course, Patrick Reed and Adam Scott have already won the Masters in their career. Jon Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau looking for their first green jacket. And Bryson DeChambeau, the reigning U.S. Open champion and maybe the most talked about player coming in to the year's last major. And with that, we say hello and welcome to Masters Week here at Augusta National. Michael Leaves alongside two-time U.S. Open champion Andy North. And, you know, Andy, every time we get to Augusta National, there's already so many questions people are waiting to ask, waiting to be answered. This year, even more based on when this tournament's going to be played. From your standpoint, you've been coming here for decades. When you first walked on the grounds and you get set for Thursday looking ahead, what are some of the feelings that you had going through your mind as you walked the grounds?
Well, Michael, it's almost as eerie. It's like you walked into a fall stage set someplace. It's beautiful. The golf course looks really good. I think they're going to have some great play this week. But there's just so many things that you're so used to, you know, saying hi to certain people that aren't here, walking through the media center and there's all these people that aren't there.
Right.
There's just so many things that are totally different, but yet these guys have got 72 holes of golf on a wonderful facility and something that really means an awful lot to them. And let's get out there and get after it and see what happens.
We're going to get into some of the differences of the golf course you will see here in November compared to April. There is Tiger Woods. Of course, he is the reigning champion, won his 5th green jacket in April of last year. If he wins one more, he would tie Jack Nicklaus for the most all time. We're going to have the release of the groupings here for Thursday and Friday. Who will Tiger be playing with? Well, Andy, we know that he's going to be playing with the reigning U.S. Amateur champion. That is the custom here at Augusta National. But he's also going to be playing with the reigning Open champion as well, because we didn't have that tournament played here in 2020.
Well, and the odd thing is that they're starting on the 10th tee. That's something that's going to be new because of the short daylight, 7:55. They're going to be hitting balls in the dark. Literally, there'll be lights on the range. It'll be interesting to see how important 10, 11, and 12 will be getting started out in your round.
Yeah, the weather should be fairly warm as it composed it might have been in April. There you see John Rahm. He will play alongside DeChambeau and Louis Oosthuizen. Of course, as we mentioned, DeChambeau just won the U.S. Open. So many questions about how he will play here and how his game, his new game, Andy, will play here at Augusta National.
Well, I know of all the players, I'm really interested in watching him try to attack this golf course. He can hit the drives in spots we've never seen before. Can he do it and combine that with everything else he needs to do to win here? We'll have to see.
He was hitting some bombs yesterday in his practice round with Tiger Woods, Justin Thomas, and, of course, Fred Couples. Rory McIlroy, of course, he needs this green jacket to complete the career Grand Slam. Dustin Johnson has been on a tear over the last several events that he's played, even though he was out for a couple of weeks with COVID-19. And Patrick Cantlay, who just won prior to coming to Augusta National at the Zozo, he's ready to go. Justin Thomas looking for his second major championship, playing alongside Matthew Fitzpatrick, and Brooks Koepka, four-time major champion winner. He was second here last year to Tiger Woods.
But I think the key thing for him, he had an unbelievable weekend at Houston, 65-65 on the weekend. Looks like his knee is back to 100%, and if that's the case, you know he'll play well in a major championship.
All right, so those are some of the notable groupings we have so far here at Augusta National. More of those to come as we continue here on this Tuesday at the Masters. And there you see Tiger Woods going through his preparation. And again, for some of these guys, just being back with some of the guys on the golf course and catching up on old friends and old conversations, things of that nature. But the expectation for Tiger Woods is always the same when he comes here. People expect him to play well.
Well, but it's been very interesting. It's been 19 months that he's been defending champion, and it's almost like people have forgotten that he won the last time we played here. So, yes, he hasn't played great golf. He spent a bunch of time on the practice facility today. Last year, he did the same thing and didn't come out and play the golf course on Tuesday. It'll be interesting if he goes out and plays 9 holes, or this ends up being sort of a rest day for him.
Yes, and again, Tiger will be addressing the media shortly. We will have it for you right here on Tuesday at the Masters. We are stacked with full team coverage here at Augusta National, and that includes, of course, the one and only Tom Rinaldi. Tom, good to be with you once again here at Augusta National. And for so many people, as we were talking, Tom, just to be here, and when Tiger's here, when Tiger has a chance to win, it brings back so many emotions for so many people.
It does, but to point, Michael, to what Andy was just discussing, we get a chance to see him here on the practice ground and what he's going through on a Tuesday. He made a decision that Andy referenced a year ago by not coming out, a year and a half ago now, I should say, April of 19, and not practicing at all on that Tuesday. Instead, it was on the Sunday, and Andy can elaborate on this. He was well aware of it. He came out late on a Sunday with only wedges and a putter, only to work on the short game, because he felt as though other elements of his game had aligned and were trending correctly, but he wasn't scoring as well as he should. He was giving up those strokes around the greens he knows here so well. That kind of prep work really manifested. And after Woods had won his 5th green jacket, he pointed back to the Tuesday prior, a Tuesday like this one, and how great the decision was not to go out and play 9 or 18 holes, but to save his body, save his energy. And Michael, I think it's such an interesting decision. There's always such a focus on Tiger Woods, but those smaller decisions that we don't often put a lot of stock in sometimes can create enormous returns.
And that's a great point, Tom, because when you talk about this game as you would with any other sport, sometimes it's the smallest details, Andy, that can determine whether someone wins or loses a championship. And Tiger Woods is clearly an example of that. But here are the facts, Andy. He hasn't played very well since the PGA Championship. His last 4 starts, tied for 72nd, miscut, tied for 51st, tied for 58th.
Well, basically, he's only played 8 times since he won at Zozo, this time a year ago.
Right.
So the fact that, is he a little rusty tournament golf? Absolutely. Has he not played and scored as well as he'd like? Absolutely. But This week is different than all the rest. He understands how to play this golf course. This is the one major championship that as a guy, as he gets older in his career, has a chance to play well, because so much local knowledge and history here really helps the player. Yeah, and clearly it helped him last year coming down the stretch, especially through Amen Corner, where he came from behind for the first time in his career on Sunday to win a major championship. But again, maybe the most talked about player coming into this week is not Tiger Woods. It's actually Bryson DeChambeau, and the way that he has played since he overhauled his body in the offseason. He just won his first major championship at the U.S. Open. And some of the sight lines where he's trying to hit the ball here, if you've ever been on the grounds, you probably wouldn't believe it. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But earlier today, Bryson was talking about his approach coming here in the wake of his U.S. Open championship.
As distance plays into it, I'm going to be hitting it to these places where, I think Tiger was in '97. And so I've been actually looking at some film and footage of where Tiger was and how he played it, how he liked to play it. Obviously 11, there's trees over on the right-hand side, can't do what he did there, but there's certain holes that I can kind of feel out and see what he did then and compare it to my game now, so I can get a better understanding of what to kind of do to this golf course. I'm trying to hit it as far as possible, but I will say that I am hitting it further now than I was at Shriners. I am hitting it further than the U.S. Open, and I'm trying, a driver this week that may help me hit it even a little bit further. So we'll see. I don't know. I feel like people are starting to understand that it's not just about me being quirky and doing things in my own way. It's about the process of trying to be better each and every day. And the attention that I've gained has been awesome. I love it. I think it's fun. But I've got to set myself back and go, look, again, anybody can win this week. And I have to keep normalizing to that.
Hey, you got to give the guy all the credit in the world for finding a way to do it that works best for him, and clearly it is working. But again, Andy, a lot of changes have been made to this golf course over the last 10 to 15 years, especially since Tiger won in '97, lengthening some of the holes as the technology has moved on. But look at some of the clubs that he plans to hit, especially on the back nine here. If you're hitting a much shorter iron, you should have a much shorter putt for your birdie attempt. Well, the most important thing on this golf course is it's a second shot golf course. You've got to keep the ball in the right positions on the greens to have any chances to make birdies. So if you're hitting a pitching wedge, that's a heck of a lot better than hitting a 6 or 7 iron in there. You'd think over the course of 72 holes, if he can hit a lot more pitching wedges than anybody else, he's going to have a better chance of winning. But it's still about getting it in the hole. You've got to make putts. You can hit a wedge 10 feet from the hole here. If you're on the wrong side of the hole, you've got no chance. Right. So it's getting it in the right quadrant so you can putt uphill most of the time. I love, by the way, on one of the holes, it's like nothing crazy. I don't know what that nothing crazy club is in his bag. That's a pitch. I love that. Interesting, yesterday he played 9 holes with Tiger, Freddie Couples, and Justin Thomas, and I walked with him the last 4 holes. And on the 18th tee, he asked Tiger specifically what his sight line used to be before they moved the tee box back. And if you remember '97 when Tiger won, he hit his drive over that bunker in the fairway and had maybe a sand wedge into the green, and that's exactly where Bryson was yesterday. His first one landed in the second bunker, but he hit another one a little left, and it cleared that in plenty of open space where he had maybe 110 to that green. It's 338 to carry the entire length of that longest bunker, so start thinking about that. But that is an advantage. That's a very difficult driving hole. If you can carry it over that bunker, you've got 100 yards to land it in versus maybe a 20-yard area. You saw what he did at Winged Foot, and we talked about his driving distance, but he wasn't the longest player in the field technically by the stats, but they don't measure all the holes. There were also times where Matthew Wolff, his playing partner on Sunday, was hitting the ball past him. What a lot of people need to know about his new game, he's hitting it far, but when he's playing well, he putted it extremely well at Winged Foot, and he's also hitting it close. Well, let's go back to the driving part. The key is he's going to carry it farther than any of these guys. Matthew Wolff had a lower trajectory the ball would hit. He was getting 30, 40 yards a run. He wasn't getting it. Bryson wasn't getting it. He can carry it, and his short game has really improved dramatically. And this is one of the bunkers that he thinks is not even in play for him because he can carry that on the opening hole, which is 330, 335 to get past that. Well, it may not be quite that far, but it's still, he can hit it over that bunker. And again, you put it up in an area, even if you hit it in the trees up 100 yards from the green, you've got a chance to still chip it and pitch it on the green. Now we've got the second and third hole, par 5 and short par 4. We've thrown out the par 5s because
holes, he's going to kill those. This is the 5th hole. This is a hole they've linked, and it's really, really a difficult hole. If you drive it back, even with those bunkers, you might be playing a 6, 7, maybe even a 5-iron in there. If you can carry those bunkers 315 yards, right, you're going to be up there hitting a 9-iron or a wedge into a green that's a diabolical green. I mean, that's one of the most difficult greens you'll ever see. If he's 155, it's a pitching wedge. And 9, this is a hole that I get a big kick out of, because there were rumors when we played here years ago that Jack used to hit it over the top of those trees down the first fairway. Now, Bryson, it's 335 yards, hit it all the way past all those trees on the left. If he can go ahead and just get up there and go ahead and rip it, there's no reason he can't hit it down there 360, 370 and have just a nice little flip to the green, and you're playing off of an upslope. It's so much simpler. Now the very difficult long par 4 11th. This is a hole we've seen the players really struggle driving it in those trees on the right. We've seen Tiger Woods there many, many times.
He was there Sunday last year.
Exactly. If you know you can stand up there and carry it 330, you can hit it all the way down to the end of those trees. So there's a good chance he can get it past those trees. And if he can do that, you're now hitting into a really wide driving area. And as you were talking about at 18, look how narrow this is. You've got to fit it in there between the bunker and those trees, and even in the fairway to the right, the trees overhang. But if you know you can stand up there and just blast it over that bunker, that would be awesome. You see, we just flew by. There's 2 or 3 little trees to the left. Those are new trees. Those are Bryson trees. They stuck those in there just for him.
And again, he will be playing with John Rahm and Louis Oosthuizen Thursday morning, 7:30 local time. They will be going off on the 10th tee. And, you know, we're talking about going off the 1st versus the 10th here at Augusta National. They always want all the players to go off the 1st tee, but because of the daylight savings time issue, they will be going off split tees. For Bryson, good or bad to start on the 10th on Thursday?
Well, I think, one, it's going to be warm. I think that's really a key. If it was going to be 40 degrees and you were starting on 10, that would be a horrible start. Being warm, 10's a tough hole, 11's a tough hole, and then all the horror stories about 12. But if it's being warm, at least you're playing those holes and you're warmed up and you feel pretty good about it. And if you get through those, if you can get off to a good start, go par, 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 now you got all those holes coming in, you can really get on a run, because not only the end of the second 9, but now you go off and play 2 and 3 early on the first 9. You've got a stretch of holes. You can play 5, 6 under par.
By the way, Bryson making his 5th appearance here at Augusta National for the Masters. His best finish was 21st back in 2016 when he was an amateur.
Well, the one thing he's really struggled with here the last couple of years as a professional is the fact that his short game has not been very good. He's not been good at all getting the ball up and down. Justin Thomas will be speaking to the media today along with Tiger Woods. And again, you will see both of those media sessions right here on ESPN Plus as our coverage of the 84th edition of the Masters continues. And Justin Thomas is also a player that we could talk about, you know, all day in terms of who could have a chance to win here. Of course, he's looking for his 2nd major championship. But again, another one of the big stories here at Augusta National this year is the fact that, yeah, we're playing it in November, and the reason is because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And as a result, there will be no patrons on the grounds here at Augusta National. And so much of the history and lore of this place has to do with the patrons and their relationship with the players, especially on big moments like we saw last year with Tiger Woods. But it's a little different this year. There will be silence. Gene Wojciechowski is joining us here today as well. And Gene, you've been coming here for a long time as well. And look, this place will always be special, but it is different here in 2020.
Well, Michael, make no mistake about that. I mean, look at it. It's so quiet out here, you can hear a pine needle drop. You know, normally we would have tens of thousands of patrons here on a Masters Tuesday. Today, maybe a couple hundred, including the media, the players or caddies, a few friends. The acoustics of Augusta National have changed this week. Without any patrons and with the November start, these players are going to see and hear a different kind of Masters this week.
As of this year, it's going to be different because I'm going to be able to hit it on certain lines where patrons would be. And I feel like that it does provide me a little bit of an advantage in that case to be able to hit into those areas without thinking about it at all.
The course is just a little softer right now, and the grass is just a little longer. And I think the biggest difference will just be once the rain starts to come this week. It looks like it's just going to rain every day.
Looks like it's going to rain later today, the next few days. Could play a little softer. And, you know, who knows what the wind's going to do with the storm moving through. So it could be playing quite difficult just with the wind being a little softer ball, you know, instead of maybe bouncing up on the flat. They might be just on the upslope, might be a little bit different, but of course in good shape, so we'll see.
You know, I talked with a few caddies who have been out here many, many times for Masters, and they say what they're doing as they walk the course with their player is that they're looking for spots that are different than in November than they would be in April. For example, around the green, maybe it's a little thinner, maybe there's a little sandy patch, and what they want their players to do this week is to drop some balls down there, Michael, and just chip. And just try to get used to that feel and these little different nuances and subtleties of a November Augusta National versus April.
All right, Gino, thanks a lot. And, like, look, one of the first things you're going to notice when you watch our coverage beginning on Thursday is that you won't see the azaleas. They bloom in the spring, not in the fall. But a lot of the course looks you'll see from a camera standpoint will be the same. But from the player standpoint, the grass is a little different here in November than it is in April. How is it different, Andy, and how will it affect play?
Well, the reason it's different is because it's a cool weather grass they plant in early October that they use and play through the winter and through the spring on. And because it's only been growing for a month, it's not quite as mature as it would be when we come here in April. So it's not as thick. It's a little bit thinner. You're going to have a few little bare spots. I think full shots off the fairway will be fine because there's a little bit of Bermuda under it. I think the difficulty will be around the greens. There's going to be some thinner areas. Chipping and pitching around here is always very difficult. And if the lies aren't quite as good, that's even going to make it more difficult. Then you look at the difference that there's no grandstands. There's no roping. There's no, your sight lines changed a little bit. All of a sudden, yesterday I was looking at the 16th hole. It's wrapped with people during the tournament. You focus right in on the green. Yesterday, staying there, all I saw was that great big lake short left of the hole. It really changes the look of the hole.
Now, of course, Augusta National has been known for its greens and its green speed and undulation for years. The expectation that the greens will be very similar in terms of speed and playability.
The greens, I think, are going to be very fast. They'll be fine. It's just going to be questionable lies every once in a while, but it won't look bad on TV. But looking at it from the player standpoint, it'll be a little thinner than it used to be.
And again, as we said earlier, the weather forecast expected to get some rain, potentially even some this afternoon, but like Wednesday and Thursday, where a lot of the rain is expected to play. There you see Tommy Fleetwood just teeing off there on number 1 as he continues his preparation here at Augusta National, looking for his first major championship.
And there's a player. He's such a great ball striker. You'd surely think at some point in time he'd have a chance to win here.
Yeah, he's played well here before, but can he bring it home under these circumstances? And again, we'll talk more about this coming up a little bit later, how having no patrons on the grounds will affect the players, not just in terms of, you know, where they're looking to hit the balls, but how they play, whether it's veterans versus younger players. Colin Morikawa said something very interesting about that yesterday. But again, if you haven't seen some of our groupings from earlier, John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, and Louis Oosthuizen, 7:33. They will go off on the second 9 here to start their first round on the 10th tee. Of course, John Rahm also looking for his first major championship as well. Patrick Reed, former champion here, Paul Casey, and Tony Finau. They go off at 7:44. And Tony Finau, speaking of players who hit it long and have a chance to really compete here, he has a chance coming into Augusta as well.
I love Tony. I love his game. It's just shocking to me that he's only won 1 tournament out here. Here's a guy that I think he should win 1 or 2 every single year.
Again, 7:44 local time, Finau, Casey, and Patrick Reed. And then Xander Schauffele also looking for his first major championship. People thought by now he would have one, going off with Jason Kokrak and Henrik Stenson at 7:44. They will start on number 1.
Xander Schauffele is a major championship top 10 player. He's there every week. His game is so solid. He's a fabulous putter, and we know you've got to really putt the ball well to play well here.
Again, he's been in contention here at the Masters in the past as well. And then, as we showed you earlier, Tiger, along with Shane Lowry and Andy Ogletree, 7:55 local time. And again, he also will start on the second 9, Andy.
Well, I think the key is Andy. How's he going to be sleeping the next couple of nights? What a great pairing. Obviously, the national amateur champion, but to have an opportunity to not only play the defending champion, but have that defending champion be Tiger Woods and Shane Lowry, the Open champion. What a neat pairing, and it'll be something he'll remember the rest of his life.
When he was a kid, he wrote a paper in school that said one of the things he wanted to do was play golf with Tiger Woods.
Well, he's got it.
It's going to happen. I don't think he knew it was going to be at the Masters, though. Jordan Spieth, former winner here at Augusta National, he'll play with Gary Woodland and Ian Poulter, 8:06 local time. They will go off on the second nine as well. Of course, well documented for golf fans at home that Jordan Spieth has been struggling to refine the form that made him a multiple major winner.
But I think sometimes when you're struggling a little bit, to come back to a golf course you've had so much success on, and he's such a good putter when he gets it going, that maybe this is a week he can turn around how he's been playing.
As we continue to look at some of the groupings that we will see here starting on Thursday and Friday, again, Danny Willett, former champion here at Augusta National. Ricky Fowler still looking for his first. And John Augenstein, he is the player that Ogletree beat in that U.S. Amateur Championship, and was a tremendous match if you saw it. And he's going to have a pretty good grouping here if they go off at 11-16.
I think that's a great grouping. And Ricky Fowler has played really some great golf here in this championship over the years. Again, a bit surprising. He doesn't have one of these also.
He hits it long enough to be in contention here for sure, and he's one of the better putters on tour.
But he has not putted that well and has not played very well over the last 12 months. By his standards.
By his standards, yes. Of course. Bubba Watson's a two-time winner here at the Masters, playing alongside Tommy Fleetwood and Matthew Wolff. That'll go off 11:27 Eastern, 10th hole. They will start. Matthew Wolff, by the way, his third major appearance. All he did in his first two was go fourth, second.
Well, and I love his game. He's never stepped foot on this golf course until this week, which is amazing. He has length. His putting has improved dramatically, and he's got a way with himself that I think that really is going to be good. He doesn't care what anybody thinks. He just wants to go out there and beat people. You love that kind of attitude.
Yeah, similar to Bryson DeChambeau, he knows what works for him, and he's going about his business to try to make it happen. Adam Scott, who won here back in 2013, playing with Colin Morikawa, who just won the PGA Championship back in August, and Terrell Hatton, they will go off at 11:38.
And Hatton, here's a player that's now in the top 10 in the world, and really no one knows much about him. He's really played a lot of really great golf over the last 12 months.
Of course, Morikawa won twice in the calendar year 2020. He also won the event at Muirfield Village prior to the Memorial. Justin Thomas, we talked about him, of course. Matthew Fitzpatrick and Brooks Koepka. How about this grouping going off at 11:49 Eastern on Thursday?
I wouldn't be a bit surprised the champion comes out of that group. Koepka looks like he's healthy again. Looks like he's swinging at it. He's really being able to put some power back through the ball, getting onto his left side. And Justin Thomas, I mean, he plays great every time he plays. I mean, he can book a top 10 almost every week he tees it up.
You know he wants to play well here because he had the first round lead at Winged Foot at the U.S. Open and then did not play very well from that point forward. He wants to make it happen here at Augusta, win his first green jacket, as does Rory McIlroy. Again, if he wins it, it will complete the career Grand Slam. Dustin Johnson looking for his first first Masters. People thought he'd won one or two by now. And Patrick Cantlay, they'll go off at noon Eastern on number one.
The interesting about Patrick Cantlay, he was out playing a practice round today with Freddie Couples, a guy who understands this golf course. I'm sure he's in his ear the whole day. And obviously Rory and Dustin, either one of those guys could win here easily. Dustin coming in here, great form.
Yeah.
He's played well here. He's played great on tour. He's got to be the favorite in my eyes.
So again, that's some of the notable groupings that we will see on Thursday. And speaking of Thursday, you will see more live golf coverage from the Masters starting Thursday morning than you have ever in the history of the storied event, thanks to ESPN Plus. Our feature group coverage begins at 7:45 Thursday morning, 2 morning groupings, and then 2 in the afternoon. And also 7:30 Eastern, we have the featured holes. Holes 4, 5, and 6, and of course, Amen Corner 11, 12, and 13, and then holes 15 and 16. And of course, live coverage begins on ESPN at 1 Eastern.
You'll get a lot more audio on players than you're used to.
Down, softly, real soft.
Which could be entertaining in itself.
The sounds of this year's Masters will be echoes. The sounds are going to be in your head. You know, I think it's going to be quiet. I think all the majors have been eerie. You're not going to have the roars rumbling around those trees, but you know how important it is. You know it still matters, and this is where the noise will be.
Silence at Augusta National. The only time you have it really is right before someone pulls that club back on their swing. Continuing coverage here at Augusta National, 84th edition of the Masters coming up. But again, you will not have any patrons on the grounds this year. There will be some people, members and their spouses and members of the media, but it won't be quite the same in terms of the noise and the sound that we're accustomed to here at Augusta National. Tom Rinaldi back here with us. And Tom, you've been covering live sports for a long time, as have I. We've gone to some of the greatest cathedrals of sports in the country in terms of crowd noise and crowd involvement. But here it's different because not just how it sounds, Tom, but certain sounds are for certain golfers, and we just won't have that this year.
Listen to the silence. It has much to say. That's a quote from the 13th century Persian philosopher and poet. Andy North gave me that one. Rumi. We don't know if Rumi was a fan of the Masters, but we do know that this year the silence won't only be talking, it'll be asking questions of the competitors they've never had to answer before. And we can't wait to hear how they answer.
There it is! Yes!
Whichever faiths they serve, whatever rituals they host, whatever congregations they hold, our holiest places often sound the same. Silent. And this year, golf's cathedral will, too. Draped in a hush never heard here before.
The return to glory.
The crowds at Augusta, you can feed off of the patrons a lot. You can get a lot of positive energy from them. I've been in that situation, and it's amazing. But also, when you start hearing roars from groups in front of you or behind you, it can make you pretty anxious as well, wondering who that was and what difference that made.
You can kind of know where guys are. You can know what people are doing. You can know if someone's making a charge. You definitely miss the crowd and miss the energy.
I don't think different even remotely does it justice. You could get roars if you're, 11 over coming up the last hole. I mean, it's what makes that place so special. That it's not like it's a bigger roar for one person than the other. A few holes shot out, it's a big, loud noise and roar.
In any other year, an estimated 40,000 patrons come to tournament days to witness the moments, savor the memories, serve as the soundtracks to Masters history. And those roars reach players, sometimes in ways that rattle a leader.
When I had a chance to win, when I was leading going into the final day in 11, I got off to a bit of a rough start. I bogeyed the first, I hit it into the fairway bunker at the second, and Charles Schwartzel held his second shot on 3, and there was a massive roar.
And that was the roar.
It's one of those courses where if you get some momentum from the crowd, you can sort of feed off that and keep going. And I was sort of going the opposite way. So there's definitely been times where roars have negatively affected me there.
For others, even champions, the thunder was loudest in years they didn't win.
The biggest roar I've ever experienced in my group at Augusta was number 16 in the final round in 2018. I made a putt that got me to tied for the lead, I think, at the time, from 9 back to start the day. It was the loudest roar I'd ever heard. When I talk about it, a lot of times I get chills.
And for some who contended against Tiger in 2019, there was a sound that's still ringing.
Tiger Woods has the lead at -13.
That's kind of one of the disadvantages, I guess, playing in front of Tiger. They'll let you know, and at Augusta, it's incredible. I love the roars. They just echo in that place. You know which player it is by the size of the roar, and then especially with having them right behind you, it's really, truly cool to see.
This week, as this cathedral may finally sound like one, how will the stillness shape the strategy? How will silence alter the outcome? Listen up.
For me, I've never been there, so it's going to be, first time for what it is.
not hearing the roars, not knowing where certain players might be on the course, that kind of factors in how you might play those last 9 holes. And that's big coming down a major championship.
If anything, it'll just enable guys to just stay in their own little world. In golf, maybe more than any other sport, that's an advantage and something that you have to do. As much as we want fans there, not having that is something that if you're in contention, it's probably not a bad thing and something to maybe take advantage of.
Always such a pleasure to listen to Rory McIlroy and how candid he is, talking about how difficult it was, Michael, back in 2011, and also the fact that it could favor a player like Colin Morikawa or the rookies who are playing here to not have to deal with the expectation, the roars echoing and swirling around the pines, etc. That might elevate and build the pressure and drama. But also something to consider I'd love Andy to talk about as well, and that's the visual. Not having the crowds roar and stand up and react and form that wall of humanity that we've come so used to seeing here at Augusta National. All of it erased for this exceptional Masters in November.
And that is a good question, Tom. From your playing experience here, Andy, and also just covering the sport for so long, what is the greatest impact of having no patrons on the grounds for the Masters?
Well, I think Rory talked about it. There's an energy that you walk in here today and you just don't feel like you normally would on a Tuesday. And during the course of the week, when the guys are making birdies out there, you can pull that energy from the noise. And I know back in the Nicholas Palmer era when I had a chance to play here, you knew who made the birdie or eagle. You could tell by the roar. You knew where it was coming from, and you always knew which player was making it. Arnold's roars were different than Jack's roars, and I think that's one of the things that's so amazing, and it's followed through. You know where Tiger is by the roars, you know where Phil has been by the roars. Those are things you're going to miss, but I think all in all, it's a different week, but guys have to figure out a way to focus and get after it, and as Tom mentioned, some of the younger players, this might be a big advantage. You don't have to deal with all the stuff that's going on, and they don't have the memories of how it should be. This is how they think it is, and that should make it much easier for them.
And you mentioned earlier about the framing of some of the holes in particular. You mentioned 16, but what about from a playing standpoint, if you're looking at an approach shot going into 15, for example, or trying to think of some holes that have patrons behind them, are you sometimes using those patrons as a reference point of where you were trying to hit the ball to and things of that nature?
You use it as aiming points, and there's some times that maybe you're bailing out, but you don't. There's people in an area where you want to bail out in, like the 15th hole, for example. To me, I always wanted to, on my second shot, if I couldn't hit it on the green, I'd try to hit it out, maybe put it in the right-hand bunker, or even to the right of that right-hand bunker. Well, now over the years, that's now been filled in by patrons, and it changes how you approach. Am I going to fire a 3-wood into these people? It's a little bit different.
What about this? What about maybe the idea of claustrophobia? Because on that first tee, to start your round, I mean, it is 5 or 6 deep. On the 12th tee box, there's no one behind the green, but those patrons sitting there are right behind that tee box.
Another great example is 18. We saw in that flyover how narrow the trees were. But then you add the patrons on the edge of that tee, it's like going down a bowling alley. So it will make it feel more open, and I don't think there'll be as much internal pressure on the players because there's not so much around them going on.
I wonder how 12th tee box would have played differently last year when Koepka makes double there. He put the ball in the water, and then Tiger saw that center 11 green, and then what happened? Molinari and Finau also put it in the water on 12.
Well, and also, you think about those guys, maybe you're the group behind that group, okay? You're on the 11th green, and you hear this groan. You know what that is.
Exactly.
Then another guy hits it. You hear that groan again. That's not good. Now you know that you have to play that shot coming up. That has, we talk about the positive energy from drawing on the fans like Rory's talking, but also there's a negative energy when things aren't going very well and you're a little bit in the panic mode. So it's going to be a different week, and guys have to deal with it the best they can.
Yeah, bring Tom Rinaldi back into the discussion as well. Tom, you had a question for Andy?
Andy, I know no one loves hoop as much as you do. The Badger fans fan that you are. And the thought of what happens sometimes when teams make it to the Final Four, Andy, and they get into these enormous arenas, domes, and they struggle with depth perception because they've grown so used to having a crowd around them at a certain prescribed distance from a basket. I wondered how you would interpret that in terms of, again, the aiming points you talked about on 9, on 18, on those greens where the crowds, the patrons frame the green for a player on his approach. Now suddenly, with a completely different vista, especially for the veterans that are coming back here, how that might affect depth perception in your view.
Tom, I think that's a really good point. I mean, you get into these football stadiums that they're now playing the Final Four in, and it might be 50 yards before you get to people behind the basket versus 10 feet or 15 feet. It's a totally different look. Here, it's these guys are playing so much by actual numbers that I think that won't be as big of an effect because they know it's 144, but still to the eye. It's like when you go over to an Open Championship and the first couple holes looks really weird because the pins are 5 feet high. So it changes that dynamic a lot. But I think the guys play so much by numbers here. Once you get an approach shot, they'll be locked into 148 or 152 or whatever that number is and just play to that number.
It may not have the same aiming points, but you're trying to hit it 147 with a little check to whoever that flag is. And so depth perception may not be as much of an issue in that regard. There you see Tiger Woods still at the practice ground here. Again, he will go off at 7:55 Eastern, and you will see him on ESPN Plus Thursday morning. You want to see Tiger play? You will see him on ESPN Plus. And Tiger hit some 3-woods here on the practice range. Freddie Couples, you see there, played a practice round with Tiger yesterday here at Augusta National. Justin Thomas was also in that group along with Bryson DeChambeau yesterday. And Justin Thomas, again, looking for a green jacket for the first time in his career. He will play with Brooks Koepka and Matthew Fitzpatrick coming up at 11:49 Eastern. Of course, Justin already has a PGA championship to his credit, but he wants to win here very, very badly. And just moments ago, he spoke to the media. We'll bring you that in a moment. But let's rewind and see what JT has done. 2 wins so far here in 2020, including the first event of the calendar year at the Century Tournament of Champions in Maui. He would later add a win at the WGC FedEx St. Jude Invitational. And between those wins, JT drained a 50-footer in an epic playoff at Muirfield Village, but ultimately lost after Colin Morikawa made a 24-footer of his own to stay alive on that hole and then beat him on the next playoff hole.
And that's a great example of not having fans around there. So,
of course, he also had a chance at the U.S. Open, didn't quite play out. Here he is talking to the media today at Augusta National.
Yeah, I'm obviously excited to be here. This is probably my favorite event of the year, one of my favorite courses. I enjoy everything about it. It's just fun. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's just every time going out there and playing, it's, I feel like I know the course so well, and I still just enjoy hitting all the shots and kind of doing the same stuff that I feel like I already know. But it's at this point, it's just about getting rest and really just going out and executing come Thursday. I feel like I've prepared well. I got a good bit of rest after Vegas and LA, and worked on some stuff I felt like I needed to work on. But like I said, at this point, it's just about getting it done once we teed up.
Great, thank you. We'll open it up to questions, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sir.
Justin, you played with Bryson yesterday. Can you just talk about his length off the tee and what does it do here at a place like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a substantially easier golf course for him than it is for everybody else. It's to me, he's not hitting it any further than he was the last time I played with him. I think once he starts messing with that longer driver and has a little bit more free time, then he might, as crazy as it is, be able to hit it further. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of holes that actually pretty much every hole he's going to have a pretty distinct advantage over everybody. I mean, you look at a hole like 2, he's got a 90-yard wide fairway pretty much, and he could be flipping anything from a 9 to a 7-iron in there, and he's obviously still has to execute, hit the shots, and make the putts, but I sure would like to be hitting from his tee shots as opposed to mine distance-wise, but. No, I mean, it's very impressive what he's done. I still think the fact that he hits it as straight as he does, as far as he does, is extremely impressive. And he's definitely gotten a lot of players to kind of change their mentality or at least try to pick up some yardage. But I think I've said before, you know, I don't exactly have 240 in the bag for weight. I don't exactly have the height for that. But no, it's impressive, and it's it's a very gettable golf course for him.
Steve?
Well, that answers one of my questions. You have not been tempted to try to gain 40 pounds of muscle and just swing as hard as physics will allow?
I mean, I already swing it pretty hard. That's not something I'm lacking. I mean, he's put on a lot of weight. I don't necessarily think 40 pounds of muscle. He's just eating everything in sight, and he's working out a lot. And he's gotten huge. He's just absolutely, he's jacked, and he's got the frame for it, you know, which is, again, something I don't have. But I have zero desire to put on 50 or 40 pounds. I mean, I could put on 10 and it'd be a good 10 pounds, but I mean, I don't need to hit it 370 yards or 340 yards in the air to win every tournament. I feel like I hit it plenty far enough that if I get a little bit better in other aspects, I can contend and win every single tournament I play. But now that being said, would I like to hit it that far? Yes, but it's just not realistic for me. And, you know, just about optimizing what I have at the moment, but I just need to, I need to continue to be good at what I'm good at. You know, kind of going down a wormhole, I feel like although it can be productive, it can also hinder you, I think, more than anything.
Can I ask, is there any real difference about playing this place in November than April, or is it all just subtleties?
Yeah, it's definitely subtleties. I mean, the ball doesn't sit near as well around the greens. I think with a little bit of both the Bermuda and the overseed coming in, you know, you're going to have some sketchy lies around the greens. Balls that are sitting down to where you're not going to be able to get the spin that you're used to getting, especially chipping up to the elevated greens or when you need to kind of spin one, hold it against a slope or whatever it is. But I think you're gonna see that over the course of the week. Definitely some chips that kind of come out high and knuckly and with a lot of top spin on it. But I mean, everybody has to deal with it. Everyone's playing the exact same golf course, so you can't complain or make a fuss about it because everyone's teeing it up in the same spot on Thursday. So it is what it is, and obviously the no fans thing I think is pretty self-explanatory, so I don't really need to go into that.
John?
Appreciate it. Just curious, with all that's going on this year with COVID, all the political and social upheaval, to what extent has golf been a refuge for you as much as a living in terms of, you know, practice and playing tournament and just being in that world?
Yeah, I mean, we're all lucky, but I mean, I'm obviously myself included, extremely fortunate that we have, you know, I think it ended up, 3 months that we were off, I think, something like that. But we're very fortunate that we were able to do what we normally do and what we love basically the entire year. And I mean, I said it at one point in the press conference, I think when we started up, is that, you know, there were so many people, so many small businesses, so many people, you know, that run big companies that had to just change everything so much. And we're in such a deep hole that we are so lucky to be able to continue to do this and be able to play the Masters. Yeah, it sucks without fans, but it sucks a lot less than if we weren't even playing the tournament. You know what I mean? So it's just, it is. I hope it's been something positive, not only for us, but for everybody. The people at home, I think the game of golf has grown so much since March. You know, it's gotten people to go out, be outside, be active, and hopefully be able to watch a little bit more on TV, you know, because there's been a lot of great tournaments and a lot of great storylines. And, you know, this week is some more.
Doug?
Curious, playing with Bryson yesterday, was that an accident or something that was planned? Wouldn't it have been better not to look?
What's that?
Wouldn't it have been better not to look?
No, I mean, I knew coming in. I mean, I've already ran through hole by hole in my head of how easy, you know, a lot of the drives are going to be for him compared to everybody else. But, I mean, I've seen it before. It's not like I'd never played with him, and it just confirmed what I already knew. I mean, I knew that he was going to have sand or gap wedge into 13, and I was going to have to hit a really good drive and turn it around those trees that he flies it over. That's just the fact of the matter. So, you know, holes like that and 15 are par fours for him and par fives for everybody else. But it is what it is.
And then secondly, as we talk about traditions that are missing this year under the circumstances. I'd be curious, when you got to 16, either of your 2 days, did you bother skipping it, or is that something for the fans? How'd you approach that?
It's definitely for the fans. Sunday we were gonna skip, and we had a group of members behind us, and they were on the 15th green, so we didn't feel the need to hold them up. And then yesterday, Tiger and Freddie didn't really want to, and I kind of do whatever they say around this place. So I'm 0 for 2.
Jim.
Justin, just curious, what's your Masters bubble compared this year compared to past years? Different house, fewer guests. Is that part of it different than past years?
It's not anything crazy. I mean, obviously you have people or friend, family, whatever it is, come, but I'm not hosting them. They're not staying in the same house as me. I've always done it where I get 2 houses. I get a house for me and who I want in the house, and then have a house I have like 3 of my best friends from high school, middle school that come, and then some other family members. And quite frankly, I don't really care who stays in that house. That's why I have it. It's theirs they can stay up as late as they want. They can have people sleep on the couch. I don't care. Just don't damage the house, and don't screw up with me giving you my tickets. That's pretty much the 2 rules. And but in terms of who's in my house, I mean, I still have my dad, and have my chef girlfriend, and this year I just have having a trainer stay with me. So it's not much different there. It's just more so, I don't see my buddies, have them over for dinner a night or whatever it is. But I usually try to keep it pretty low key during the week.
But without guests this year at the trainer, do you miss that, not having them? Or
yeah, I do. It's just, it was always nice, if I needed to, because especially in April, there was quite a bit of sports on, or I feel like it was usually kind of during the NBA playoffs or maybe starting, but I always remember the Stanley Cup was kind of starting, or at least those playoffs were. So, they'd come over for dinner a couple times a week, and we'd watch games together, and it just kind of took my mind off of the big picture and the big moment of what was going on. So I'll miss that, but nothing's going to stop me from still watching sports. I just won't be doing it with them.
And again, our feature group coverage begins 7:45 Eastern on Thursday on ESPN Plus. And look at the names that you will be able to see on the golf course beginning early on Thursday National. 7:33, John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, and Louis Oosthuizen. Then at 7:55, you have Tiger Woods, Shane Lowry, and Andy Ogletree, the amateur. And then in the afternoon, 11:27, you have Bubba Watson, Matthew Wolff, Tommy Fleetwood. And then 11:38, Francesco Molinari, who's not played a lot of golf here in 2020 because of COVID-19. Billy Horschel and Cameron Smith, you'll see them as well. And all the feature holes will also be available. 4, 5, 6, Amen Corner, 15 and 16.
The return to glory.
I don't know if you can really put into words. I mean, I think it's extremely big. I don't think there's an adjective for it. I don't know. I mean, personally, I don't know how I would describe it other than just don't doubt the GOAT.
Many doubted we'd ever see it.
It was another significant moment. It added to Tiger's legacy, that's for sure.
I think he's found a real sweet spot towards the end of his career here, and he's fun to be around, he's fun to compete against, and he's still hard to beat, which is cool.
I was absolutely convinced it would be a message that would go through the world. And that is, we all have to face up to adversity. What Tiger did, he gave encouragement.
It's been a long journey, Tiger.
It was his tournament. He earned it, he deserved to win. I was very happy for him. I think it was great for the game of golf.
A moment that anyone who was here on the grounds especially, and even watching at home, will never forget when Tiger Woods won his 5th green jacket in April of last year. There he is on the practice ground here at Augusta National. He will go off at 7:55 Eastern, again, ESPN Plus on Thursday. He's going to address the media here shortly. We will have that with you right here on our coverage on ESPN Plus Tuesday at the Masters. Bring back in Gene Wojciechowski now to the discussion. And Gene, the story was so big around Tiger Woods winning that green jacket for a 5th time that there were also so many other stories around what happened with him as well, his closest friends, his family, and even the guy that carries his clubs.
Well, Michael, I can't compete with Rinaldi's 13th century Persian philosopher Rumi, but I can tell you about the 21st century Connecticut golf philosopher Joe LaCava. When he got to Augusta National last year, he wasn't sure what to expect out of his employer, Tiger Woods. He was concerned, maybe even worried, that Tiger had not played enough competitive rounds coming into the Masters. Well, as it turns out, LaCava has never been so happy to be so wrong.
So this is the famous number 54.
That's it right there. And they're kind enough to let me keep it, which is nice of them. I wore it for a whole week, slept with it and everything. I'm just kidding. No, I've never worn it since.
Floor, please. Tiger Woods now driving.
I'm always looking physically, how he's getting around, how he's walking, how he's feeling. And he looked good that morning, maybe a little more confident than normal. Certainly all business for sure.
Will this be the day that no one ever thought would happen again? Tiger win a major.
Nobody, including Tiger Woods' longtime caddy Joe LaCava, knew the answer to that question as the final group began its 5.5-mile walk at the 2019 Masters. All they knew for sure is that they were 2 shots out of the lead and that it was a golf miracle that Woods was even there at all. In 2014, Woods missed cuts, tournaments, and even entire seasons because of multiple back surgeries.
Tiger gave me the option to go work for someone else. And I said, that's not really what I want to do. I just think, you don't give up on a guy if he's going through a tough time. It's Tiger Woods at the end of the day. Where else am I going to go?
So LaCava stayed put. Where else was he going to go? How about Amen Corner on a Masters Sunday? Woods entered the famed 3-hole stretch 2 shots behind leader Francesco Molinari. But then, the shortest hole in the course, par 3 12th, produced the greatest amount of carnage.
You don't think that door is flying open now?
Woods made his move.
Hit it firm, too. Everybody will see that leaderboard change. 3 tied at the top. Game on.
It was at the par 5 15th that the Woods countdown began.
3 holes and a putt left in this Masters. Tiger Woods has the lead at -13.
Going to 16. He asked me what I liked, and I said 8-iron. I call it a smash. You got to smash this 8-iron because it's a big 8-iron for him.
The Tigers hunted them down, and now he's gone in for the kill.
Tiger Woods can increase his lead to 2. Oh my goodness.
In the end, Woods needed 1 putt from 2 feet to win his 5th green jacket, his 15th major, and complete a journey for the ages.
The return to glory.
The first thing I hear him say is, "We did it." That meant a lot to me. It was a great hug and very emotional. Yeah, I mean, it was probably my best hug ever.
As someone who's known Joe LaCava for a long time, and he's beloved out here, great friend to so many of us. What a great teammate he's been for you as you've risen back to the top of the game.
One of the most loyal human beings you'll ever meet.
No question.
And if anyone deserves a major championship, it's Joey.
Once again, Woods enters a Masters without much tournament play coming into this tournament. Only 10 competitive rounds since the end of August, only 8 tournaments in 2020. But LaCava reminds everyone, nobody knows this place better than Tiger Woods, and nobody has a history of proving people wrong more than Tiger Woods.
Gene, that's a great point. And there's Tiger on the practice ground with Joe LaCava there on the left. His swing coach, a good friend, Rob McNamara, and Freddie Couples there as well, Dandy.
And Joey worked for Freddie for about 15 to 18 years, so those three have spent a lot of time together.
And again, like when you talk about player-caddy relationship, yeah, it's one thing about carrying your clubs and giving you numbers, but there's also some personality things that need to click, and Joey seems to be the right guy for Tiger now in his career. Earlier it was definitely Steve Williams, but now it's Joe LaCava.
Well, I think the interesting thing about caddies, and there's a lot said plus and minus for them, but they're the only person out there that can help you as a player.
True.
And you better have somebody that you get along with, that they know when you need a kick in the butt, that you know when you need a hug. That, I mean, there's a lot to that, and Joey's been that for not only Tiger, but for Freddie for years and years and years.
And if you couldn't tell from Gino's piece, Joe's one of the funnier guys that you can talk to. But Tiger's been rather quiet here in 2020, making just 8 starts on the PGA Tour over the calendar year. His best finish came in his very first start, tied for 9th at the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines back in January. But after taking 2 weeks off following the Memorial, Tiger couldn't get much going on his way to a tie for 37th at the PGA Championship at Harding Park in San Francisco. He entered Sunday tied for 59th. He was 11 shots back of the field, never really in contention. And then you take it to the U.S. Open at Winged Foot and struggled again. Coming off 2 weeks of rest, he missed the cut after rounds of +3 and +7. His second worst position through 36 holes in his U.S. Open career. So not coming into quite the same form to this Masters as maybe in years past, especially in the times that he won 5 times. Again, you will see Tiger Woods go off at 7:55 Thursday morning only on ESPN+. Feature group coverage as well with John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, and Louis Oosthuizen in the afternoon wave. And then we also have the featured holes beginning at 7:30, 4, 5, 6, Amen Corner, and 15 and 16. And, you know, for Tiger Woods, Andy, there's one thing that is different for him coming to Augusta National in November versus April. He's got 20-plus years of getting ready a certain way to come here to ramp up for the year's first major. Now he's doing it completely different, and the Master is the last major in 2020.
I think that's really a good point. I mean, all professional athletes like to do things a certain way. And preparing for the Masters for years has been playing Bay Hill, has been playing whatever tournaments coming in, because they're events you love to play, that you've played well at, but you know you can get your game ready for Augusta. There are certain places you play, you actually start practicing shots you might hit at Augusta maybe a month ahead. Maybe you're hitting a little higher with a 5-iron than you normally would, just to get ready for here. And all of a sudden, that's out the window.
Yeah, it is. So how will Tiger play, and how was his preparation? Well, let's find out. He's addressing the media right now here at Augusta National.
19 months ago, Tiger Woods decisively showed the world what determination and grit and resiliency can accomplish with winning his 5th green jacket. And the scene on 18 that Sunday, with you embracing your children and the thousands of patrons chanting your name, was seen by many, if not most, that this was probably one of the most remarkable, exceptional comeback victories in all of sport. Would you take us back to Sunday, April 14th, as you're getting ready to tee up on round 4, 2 back, and what the kind of the range of emotion was during that round?
Well, it was just a fight and a grind, and just trying to hang in there, trying to make a dent in the lead. Frankie basically had control of it, and then number 12 happened, and everything flipped. And you know, 4 guys hitting the ball in the water there, and I didn't, made par there, birdie 13, birdie 15, 16. So, you know, that was one of the most, I mean, I'm still getting chills just thinking about it. Feelings, you know, coming up 18 and knowing that all I had to do is just two-putt that little 15-footer, and, you know, to see my family there, my mom and my kids, and all the people that helped support me or were there for me during the tough times. And I was walking up there just trying not to lose it and say, hey, I still got to two-putt this. And then when I walked off the back of the green, you know, to see Charlie there and just open up our arms, and it meant a lot to me, and it still does. And just reminded me so much of me and my dad. And to come full circle like that, it still gives me, you know, a little teary.
One follow-up question to that is, this year marks the 25th anniversary of your first appearance in the Masters. Any thoughts or memories or things you'd like to share about that first visit?
Oh my God, that was, I got a chance to play on Wednesday with Jack and Arnold, and, you know, at the time, you know, I was a little punk college student, and we're playing for some skins, and I didn't have any cash in my pocket, and, you know, Arnold makes a putt on 18, takes all the skins away from us, and Jack and Arnold asked me, hey, do you want to go play the par 3 contest? And I said, I'm scheduled to go later. Hey, just follow us. And I went over there with them. We went over to the par 3 contest. We played together, and that was awesome. And, you know, that was one of the most incredible memories I think that I've ever had. And then the story that I always tell all the amateurs that I've ever played with, on number 1, I putted off the green on my first hole. You know, putted right in the gallery, and playing with Ollie, and chipped it back up there, made the putt there, and it would have been a hell of a bogey, and then just pumped it right over the top of that bunker on 2, and then started my Masters.
We're now delighted to open up the questions. We'll start with Daniel.
Tiger, because of unique circumstances in the world, you've been the reigning Masters champion for an unprecedented 19 months. What's that experience been like?
Well, it's not how I wanted to retain the jacket for this long. Obviously, this has been an unprecedented circumstance we're all dealing with, and it's been incredible to have the jacket, and to have it, you know, around the house, and to share it with people. But to have it this long, it's not the way I wanted to have it. You know, I wanted to, you know, earn it back in April, but obviously we didn't have that. But we have an opportunity to play this week, which, you know, early in the year we didn't think we'd have this opportunity. So we're all very fortunate to be able to compete. And you know, tonight and, well, this whole day is awfully special, because I may never have the opportunity to take the jacket off property again. And so this means a lot to me today, and to have this opportunity to have the Champions Dinner and to be able to host it tonight with all the guys that are here, it's going to be awfully special for me.
Good. Bob?
Tiger, 6 events since the restart. I'm guessing you're probably not happy with, you know, your results. I'm just wondering, can you pinpoint what's been missing? What's kept you from contending?
Well, you know, Bob, it's been either I haven't put all the pieces together at the same time. Whether it's I've driven it well and then I've hit my irons poorly, or I've put the ball striking together and I haven't putted well, and then I've had it where I've putted well and I've hit it poorly. It's just been, I haven't put everything together at the same time, and I haven't played a lot. Obviously, you mentioned I've only played 6 events, but it's been gearing up for the major championships and trying to understand what we have to deal with, this year with COVID and trying to be safe. And I was hesitant to come back and start playing. That's why I waited as long as I did and came back at Memorial. And from there, I really haven't, as I said, haven't put all the pieces together, and hopefully that'll be this week.
Jim?
Statistically, you look over your career, the first round has not really been, your numbers are pretty pedestrian when you look at all your big rounds, the second, third, and clearly the fourth. You've broken 70 once, I think, at the first round. Just curious, do you have a mindset here? Is it just ease yourself into the tournament, or is it, I don't know.
Jim,
how do you explain it?
I wish I could have, I could pinpoint it and tell you what it is, but I haven't historically, started off well here. But I think the times I have shot 70 in that first round, I've gone on to win a few of them. So, it's just one of those weird things that I just haven't put together. And the second and third rounds were usually I've made my hay and got myself back into the event or taking the lead in the event. Hopefully this year will be different, and I can shoot a little bit better score and get off to a better start.
Alan?
Tiger,
yeah.
A lot of talk about honorary starters this week. 30 years from now, it's probably going to be you and Phil. How does that make you feel thinking about that?
Well, you said 30 years from now? And that's a long time. The fact that I had an opportunity to watch Byron Nelson and Sam Snead tee off there, and then to see Jack and Arnold and Gary, now to have Lee start next year. Whether it's Phil and I down the road or whatever it may be, it's up to the chairman, and it's an honor. I mean, that's you start off the Masters, and hopefully, that'll be us one day, and I'll be hitting bombs past them.
We have a remote question for you, Tiger.
Yes.
In this unusual situation, it took 19 months to come back to Augusta, and now you will have less than 6 months until your next Masters. How do you prepare for that mentally and physically?
Well, this year's Masters, it's different. We've never played it in the fall. This is the grass is different. The conditions are different. The run up to this event is different. Normally we have the forward swing and gear up for the Masters. This year's very different, and it's a quick turnaround time. The fact that Augusta National is going to host the next two major championships is awfully special, for all of us, and we had the opportunity to play. And unfortunately, I won this event, so I get to keep coming back.
Thank you, Barry.
Tiger, you're both able to talk about 2 decades of experience and pull stories like playing with Jack and Arnie back then, but you're also the defending champion. Where do you feel like you are on that continuum? Certainly not a ceremonial player, but do you expect to contend here for this week and years to come, or are you past that point where it's annually possible?
Well, expect to contend? Yes, I do. Look at Freddie and Bernhard. They're in their 60s and they seem to contend. Jack contended here when he was 58, or 56, 58, whatever it was. It can be done. This is a golf course in which having understanding how to play it and where to miss it and how to hit the shots around here, it helps. And the golf course keeps getting longer, so it gets a little bit more difficult. As I've gotten older and I don't quite hit as far. When I first came here, it was a lot of drivers and a lot of wedges. Now it's a little bit different, and a little bit longer clubs into the holes, but still understanding how to play it, it definitely helps. And that's one of the reasons why you see past champions, like I did mention, Freddie and Bernard, be able to contend so late in their careers. And hopefully I'll be one of those guys.
Tara?
Hi, Tiger. Your win last year was so dramatic, right? And meant so much to you, to the game, so memorable on so many levels. And a big part of that is the galleries and the fans and the way they lift you and root for you. I know this is hypothetical, but do you think you're playing this year without them? Could you have won it? Would that have happened without them? Is it going to be very strange for you this year not having them? Did they help you last year?
Absolutely. They helped me. They helped me win. They helped the support that I had, the energy that was around the property. It was electric that day, and we all miss the energy of the crowds. And yes, this year is going to be very different. It's going to be stark in what we see, our sights into the greens, the energy that you hear from different roars from different parts of the golf course. I mean, you're on the putting green up on 1, and you can hear eagles down on 13. That's what this tournament is all about. And we're not going to have that this year, and it's going to be very different. And it's one that none of us have ever experienced. And so we're all going to go through it together at the same time, and it's going to be a very different experience, and hopefully one that I can figure it out and be able to replicate what I did last year.
Steve?
Tiger, after you won the Masters last year, you told us that you had found something. You had found your swing coming into the Masters to be able to hit the draws and shape the shots. Have you found that this year coming into it? And basically, what do you think about the state of your game right now?
Yeah, I was working on a few of the things that I was working on in the last year, coming into the event, be able to hit a high draw. My body's feeling better than it did last year, so it was a little bit easier to hit those shots. Hopefully this year, I'll be as consistent as I was last year. Last year, I was able to hit a lot of really good iron shots, and I putted great. I had a great feel of the greens. Today I did a little bit of work on the greens, just like I did last year. I took Tuesday off and didn't play. Tried to get a feel for the greens, and the greens were a little bit slower than I had expected. But with the rains coming up and the forecast, you just never know. That's one of the neat things about trying to figure this tournament out is Wednesday to Thursday, this golf course changes a lot, and what the committee does. And hopefully I can get the same feels I did last year and put it all together.
Sam Farmer, please.
Tiger, going back to 1995, your caddy that day, a local gentleman, said that he asked about you playing with one sleeve of balls, and he was concerned about that. And after the round, you handed him 2 fresh, unused balls, correct, and you had played in one. Do you remember that? It looks like you might. And anything about your relationship with that particular caddy on that day?
Well, I didn't really, as I said, in college, I really didn't have a whole lot of golf balls. I didn't really switch golf balls that often. That's, what amateurs do. That's we played with a lot of balls, and we, hopefully don't hit the ball in the water, and we be able to keep it for the entire day. And do I remember those exact details? No, but that definitely sounds like me. And I haven't been one that really switches balls that often. That's especially then, as I said, when you're in college, we get our coach would give us a dozen balls, per event. Otherwise, we didn't have any new balls. So yeah, you saved them.
We have another remote question submitted by Bernie McGuire of the Irish Star, Tiger. Tiger, you tweeted your delight about Lee Elder being named an honorary starter in 2021. Can you speak to the announcement yesterday and your relationship with Lee?
Well, Lee was a pioneer. You know, he was the one that broke the color barrier here and was paved the way for players of color to like myself to be able to play this event. And it's ironic that he did it in '75. I was born in '75, and then when I won in '97, he was on the back of the green. And so to have him here yesterday and to be able to see him and to have him as our honorary starter is awfully special and important in the history of the event. But also for me personally, it's probably even more special.
Thank you, Tiger. Stephanie?
Who are you able to have with you here this week?
I'm sorry?
Sorry. Who are you able to have with you here this week?
Sorry?
Who, with all the restrictions around who can be here, who are you able to have with you here?
Oh, yeah, I have my girlfriend and Rob, and so that's it. Mm-hmm.
Mark?
Hey, Tiger, over here.
Yeah.
Just with regard to Bryson, I'm wondering how much you see what's going on with him as a flashback to kind of when you came on the scene in '97 and with all the length and everybody trying to catch up to you and what your fascination is about what he's done and to transform himself to where he's at right now.
Well, back then, there wasn't the technology to optimize our tee shots and optimize the driver yet. That we were just coming out of basically the persimmon days and coming into metal. More guys were switching over to graphite instead of steel, and the wound ball was very spinny. So and the heads were very small. So it was important to hit the ball in the middle of the face. Well, I happened to have speed, and I happened to hit the ball in the middle of the face, and was able to, have a little bit of an advantage over the guys. But now you have the ability to optimize one club, and to be able to use that driver as a weapon to hit it and basically as far and as you possibly can. We just didn't have the technology to be able to optimize that. And Bryson he's put in the time, he's put in the work. I mean, what he's done in the gym has been incredible. And what he's done on the range and what he's done with this entire team to be able to optimize that one club and transform his game and the ability to hit the ball as far as he has in as short a span as he has, it's never been done before. I had speed, and as you say, in '97, I hit it far. And, as I got bigger and I filled out and tried to get stronger, it was to not hit the ball further. It was to be more consistent and be able to practice longer. And actually, I got a little bit shorter, as I got into my mid-20s and late 20s. Probably the most speed I ever had when I was 20 years old. So, 21, I still had a little bit more speed, but as I got a little bit bigger, and I didn't hit as far, but I got better. What Bryson's done has been absolutely incredible, and we've all been amazed at what he's been able to do in such a short span of time. It's never been done before.
Jeff?
Tiger, there's a lot of shots around this golf course that can make a player a little uncomfortable. Where does the tee shot at 12 rank, and why is that hole so confounding?
Well, some of you guys were out there yesterday and watching us play, and at the time, we had it into the wind off the left, and I was debating about hitting an 8-iron, and then it switched, and I was going to hit a wedge, and I ended up hitting a 9-iron, and that was only in a practice round. I've hit wedge to the front left pin. I've also hit a 6-iron to that hole, and so it's been it's one of those holes where you can't. There's no other hole that's like that. That's as simple as it looks. A simple little, as I said, wedge to 7-iron, but it's amazing in what pressure will do, what the angle of the green, and just the tournament, what the shots that we hit. And hey, I've done it. I've hit the ball in the water. I've hit the ball in the bunkers. I've hit in the bushes. I've been everywhere on that hole. So yes, it's one of those confounding holes that you just really can't explain.
Jimmy Roberts.
Tiger, hi. Can I just go back to last year for one moment? Obviously, it was very important to you for a number of reasons. You've had a lot of highlights in your career, and I guess naming, one win that's more important than another would be like asking somebody to name their favorite child. Is it possible to rank what last year meant to you?
Well, I think that 97 was probably the one that stands out as, obviously, but with my dad and his heart surgery and coming to the Masters and winning my first major and the way I did it. But last year was more emotional in a different way, just because of the struggles I've had. And I had never, ever won a major coming from behind. And here I am in a threesome, which we had never done before, and on the final day, and we've never teed off that early. These were all a lot of never happened before. My kids were there, and it was just so special and so emotional in a different way. As I said, to come full circle from me being with my dad and now seeing my son there and the same embrace. 22 years apart, it's just pretty good bookends.
Daniel? Nothing. Cameron Morfitt?
Yeah, Tiger, you mentioned, way in the back here.
Yeah.
You mentioned course knowledge and how important it is out here. Phil had a funny anecdote where he was saying to Justin Thomas that once Phil is done competitively, he's going to share a bunch of stuff that Justin would make Justin borderline unbeatable. Are you going to have to wait till you're done competing out here to share knowledge on how to play this golf course?
Well, first of all, he's never going to share that. That's we share tidbits as as past champions, but also we keep a few things too. That's I had the opportunity to, as I said, to play with Arnold and Jack, and they were fantastic. I've been able to play here with Sevi and with Raymond and the short game stuff that they've issued over the years, but also they held a few things back, and but also then again, that's all the years of experience and playing under different conditions and different experiences. That's just something also that you just have to go through, and there's only been one first-time participant champion. That was Fuzzy in '79. And so it just doesn't happen. It usually takes a little bit of time to understand how to play it, play practice around with the guys, pick their brains, but also, we keep a few things.
We have time for two more questions and one more remote, and the remote comes from Ann Lagoria of WFAN. You referenced the Champions Dinner tonight. What is your favorite memory from all the past Champions Dinners?
Well, to see Gene Sarazen, Sam Snead, and drinking milkshakes. That was awesome, and just to hear the stories of all the guys over the years. I mean, the stuff that we say in the dinners, stays between us, and that's the most awesome part about it is We keep it in-house and keep it within the family. And they're awesome stories. And, a lot of things I can't say here that have been said, but they're awesome.
Great. Rex?
Tiger,
yeah.
Can you talk about how different it's going to be teeing off on number 10 to start your week and how that might change the way you play that 9?
Never been done before. So, that I think when Jack finished in his last Masters, he had the tee off on 10 and, finished coming up 9. And, this whole year has been very different for all of us. And for us to be able to have the ability to have this event and play this event, early in the year, we weren't looking like we were going to have this opportunity. The fact that we have the opportunity to be able to play, the fact that we're going off, 2 tees, I think it's irrelevant. The fact that we have an opportunity to be able to play and compete for the Masters again is an awesome opportunity.
Last question will be from Bob Herrig.
Tiger, obviously it looks as great as it ever does, but it sounds like it's going to play a little different. You were up here a week or so ago, and now again. What's different? Is it there's more Bermuda, and what does that mean? How will that affect you or the?
Yes, there is a lot of Bermuda around the greens and on the whole golf course in general. The rise, it's a little bit spotty in places, and the ball is settling down a little bit. And generally, around the greens, we have the ability to play bump and runs or play, more spinning golf shots. That's going to be a little bit different this year. The ball's popping up on us a little bit and rolling out. So it is different. I've been up here in the fall, a few times and have played it, and it's been like this. But we've never played a Masters like this. So it's going to be, very different for all of us. And some of the shots, around the greens are going to be a lot more challenging than they have been in the past, trying to figure it out, especially with the forecast we have coming in. It's going to be, a little bit more, fuzzy, around the greens. And some of the shots, some of the guys have switched wedges, this week and gone to more bounce. To try and figure this out, and so it's going to be challenging for all of us.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Tiger.
By the time Tiger tees off Thursday, it will have been 578 days since he won his 5th green jacket here at Augusta National. Michael Lee's alongside Andy North. Look, you can't win a golf tournament at the press conference, okay? No. But sometimes you can get a little insight into how a player is feeling, how he's thinking. What stood out to you from what we just heard from Tiger Woods?
I don't see a guy that's panicking over not playing well. I think he sounds as if he's probably done some good work at home and he feels comfortable coming in here. The fact that he didn't go out and play any golf holes today, I think, is very similar to what he did last year. So he got a lot of good work done before the media session, and then is going to go home and get some rest. I always felt the most important thing at major championships, if you understood the golf course, was to be mentally fresh and rested going in there, because there's so many things that happen during the course of a 72-hole major championship that taxes you so much physically and mentally. If you're not there and ready to go, you've got no chance to deal with it.
Again, so Tiger's a defending champion here at Augusta National. It's the first time that he's been the defending champion in a major since 2009. Of course, that's when he won the 2008 U.S. Open at Torrey Pines on that broken leg. And, Andy, you've won major championships in the past, and you know what it's like to come back the next year and defend. A little different than the U.S. Open because the venue changes. For the Masters, it's always the same place. But what impact would that have on Tiger, do you think, in terms of being the defending champion coming back here to a place he's won so many times?
I think the fact that of this year in particular, that it's probably much easier because you don't have all the other stuff going on around you. You don't have all the fans talking about what you did last year. You don't have all the extra family and all the extra friends and who needs tickets and how can we do this and all the other junk that goes about being a defending champion. this is his one media session for the weekend. He's done.
Yeah.
You know, so now it's all about playing golf. I think this probably benefits him a lot.
And again, he will be going off at 7:55 Thursday morning, starting at number 10 on the second nine here at Augusta National. And you will see every one of his shots on ESPN Plus, as you will see more coverage from the Masters than in any year past, thanks to ESPN Plus. Here's a look at the lineups you will see. Feature group coverage begins at 7:33 with Rahm, DeChambeau, and Oosthuizen. Then you see Tiger, Lowry, and Ogletree, the reigning U.S. Amateur champion, at 7:55.
I've got 2 iPads already ready, so I can go through DeChambeau's group and Tiger's group early Thursday morning.
And in the afternoon, you have Watson, Wolf, and Fleetwood with Molinari, Horschel, and Smith. But also we have featured hole coverage beginning at 7:30. Holes 4, 5, and 6, Amen Corner, and holes 15 and 16. More coverage than ever from the 84th edition of the Masters.
The small champions locker room waits at the top of the stairs in the clubhouse. Inside are both the greatest golfers who ever lived, mixing with men who got lucky during one magical week. Sharing such a reverent and exclusive space does something for both groups. It reminds the great of their greatness and the lucky of their luck.
David, what was the stat of the number of winners that finished in the top 5?
Jordan Spieth here on the practice ground at Augusta National. Of course, he's a former champion here at the Masters and probably should have won at least another one, maybe 2 more. But his form has not been of major championship caliber over the last couple of years. He tees off Thursday morning at 8:06 local time here at Augusta National. Well, let's go by the numbers to get everyone a reminder of what it actually takes to win the green jacket. Of the last 25 Masters winners, just 4 of them ranked in the top 5 in the field in driving accuracy. Most recently, that was Sergio in 2017. He is not in the field this year. Augusta, of course, it's a place that you can navigate successfully even if you miss some of the fairways to get into the first cut. How about handling these greens, though? Surprisingly, just 9 of the last 25 Masters winners ranked top 5 in total putts. Patrick Reed, the last champ to do that when he won 2 years ago. But getting to those greens, yeah, that's where it's at. That has been the best predictor of success. 19 of the last 25 Masters winners found themselves inside the top 5 for greens in regulation, including the defending champion, Tiger Woods. Last year, he hit more than 80% of his greens in regulation. And when you're striking the ball that well, you're probably going to have a chance of better putts, and you make them and you win. So this is where Tiger ranked last year, Andy, in the field: driving accuracy, greens in regulation, and total putts. But it's that middle one that really defined.
Tiger's won this 5 times. He's finished first, and second in greens hit in regulation in those wins. So, as you're saying, you hit it on the green, that's good. You hit it on the green in a good spot to try to make a putt, that's even better.
So again, you know what it takes to win here. And if you go back to last year when Tiger came in, he was striking the ball tremendously well, and we saw that. But his opening round, he couldn't make any putts. Second round Friday, he was striking it well, made putts, and that gave him the momentum going into the weekend. But we also heard from him moments ago, in his career, despite those 5 wins, he's never really gotten off to a great start in his open round. If he shoots below par, if he's 70, he usually goes on and wins. So how important is it, do you think, in that regard for him, if he's going to contend here for a second straight year, to get off to a good start, especially on the second 9, hit the fairway, hit the green, and make the putts? I think it's really important for him to play a good, solid round of golf. He doesn't have to be at the lead, but again, 69 or 70 the first round, and a round where he felt good. You know, I made a couple of nice 8-footers. I hit a bunch of good, solid drives. I worked the ball with my irons, had the right distance control. Those are the kind of things, if he can do that on Thursday, it gives him so much confidence going on to the rest of the week. Take a look last year, notable players in terms of greens in regulation in the field. Tiger, he finished first. Koepka finished second in the field in terms of scoring. He was tied for some. These are some of the guys that we're expecting to be in contention this year, Andy. And if they're going to do that, they're probably going to be up near the top of those stats as well. Yeah, I mean, so often putting, you could have a great putting week and be 40th in putting because you have so many putts that are impossible. If there are places on these greens, if you can 2-putt, you walk off the green pounding your chest that it's been a great work. So, but getting the ball in position for that putting is the most important thing. By the way, in the 4 previous times that Tiger was the defending champion here at the Masters, he's never finished worse than tied for 15th. So again, this Masters venue is unique for so many reasons. And for Tiger, who's been so successful here, he knows it as well as anyone at this point, whether it's going to be played in November as this year or in April in years past.
But that was a different Tiger Woods defending 10, 15 years ago than the one today. You know, obviously what he's gone through. Yeah. But again, it's about the knowledge of this golf course. He's playing longer shots into these greens, but he at least knows where the places to miss. Where this is a week that, if your short game is really good, you can get away with a lot of stuff if you miss the ball in the right spots. If you hit it in the wrong spot, you've got absolutely no chance to get it up and in.
Of course, if you remember the final round Sunday last year, it was at Amen Corner where everything changed for Tiger Woods. Got a nice break on his tee shot 11. Of course, you know what happened at the par 3 12th. And Amen Corner is where we find our Marty Smith. Good to be with you, Marty, once again here at Augusta National. And, I mean, that's a pretty good view behind you, but you look all alone out there.
I don't even know what to say, to be honest with you, Michael. I've been standing out here for a couple of hours just watching various groups go through and practice this most majestic area in all of golf. And Matt Kuchar was working on 11 for a long time, and then he walked over and we talked a little college football, which, by the way, only confirms my assertion that the epicenter of college football is right here in these pines right beside me at Amen Corner. Every single fan base is represented when there are fans and patrons here. Of course, that is not the case this week, and that opens up an opportunity that we've never seen before at Augusta National. And I saw the impact of that opportunity myself just about an hour ago. I was leaned up against one of these commanding Georgia pines, and I saw Paul Casey come through playing with Patrick Reed. And Paul's wife, Pauliana, was up on top of the hill here. And as that group was waiting on Ricky Fowler and John Rahm to finish 12, Casey started waving his wife down the slope. And she kind of looked at him quizzically. Me? Yes, come down here. And they took a photograph together. And I wondered what the impact of that photograph was. So as Paul and Reed made their way over to the 12th green, I walked over to the 13th fairway and had a conversation with Pauliana and asked her, what is that photograph? And she could not remove the smile from her face, Michael. She said, we've worked so hard to get here. You never see what it takes to get to this beautiful place. And in that moment, she said, I never dreamed we would be able to take a photograph together at Amen Corner, something we'll have forever, a memento. And the reason she was able to do that is because there are no ropes. She said, Marty, it's so great to meet you. I want you to understand that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We're never going to see this again at Augusta National. And it was wonderful to see the glow in her face, Michael. It just speaks to the majesty and the magic of the Masters, and specifically this unprecedented Masters tournament. Just a beautiful thing to see.
You know, Marty, that's the thing. This is not ideal for Augusta National or for the people who come here each and every year to enjoy this sports spectacle. But if you can find some type of positive in all of this discontent, then that will be some of the memories. And I had a moment like that myself on Sunday, walking out there by myself, standing on parts of the golf course I've never been able to get to. And I will remember that forever. But I'd much rather have the patrons back here when we come back in April of 2021. Let's bring in Gene Wojciechowski back to our coverage here Tuesday at the Masters. And, you know, where Marty was standing, Gino, and the history of this event, so much has happened at that very location, coming off 11 potentially and 12 green specifically.
Well, let me give you a little bit of a history lesson. In the history of the Masters, that par 3 12th has never, repeat, never played under par for a Masters week. That gives you an idea how hard it is. And when you do the cumulative stats on all the holes here at Augusta National during the Masters over time, that par 3, only 155 yards and change, maybe sometimes depending on where the tee box is, it plays the 4th toughest in the history of this course. If you talk to some of the players, they might tell you it ought to be ranked number 1.
The 12th hole is really a pretty simple golf hole. And of course, there isn't a prettier place on earth. It shouldn't be a hard shot, but I think we've all made it difficult at times.
How can something so beautiful cause so much agony?
It's perplexing and it's hard to figure out. Commitment in that 12th hole is everything.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I'd encourage anybody to go on that tee and see which way the wind goes, because we don't even know as we're hitting it.
Located in the middle of Amen Corner, the 155-yard 12th is the shortest hole at Augusta National and also the cruelest.
The toughest hole, the toughest shot. You always know it's going to be tricky there. For whatever reason, on Sunday it's trickier, maybe because the pin's over here to the right.
You go long, you're in jail. You're short, obviously you're in jail. You miss a little left, that left pin, you're in jail.
So if they gave you a 3 every time you played there?
Oh, take it and run. I take 3 threes and a 4.
In 1980, Tom Weiskopf put 5 balls in the water there and scored a 13. In 2011, Rory McIlroy 4-putted there. In 2013, Bubba Watson made a 10 there.
Just goes to show anything can happen down here at Amen Corner.
And what Jordan Spieth would have given for a bogey there in 2016, when he arrived at number 12 with a 3-shot lead.
Cardinal rule is do not ever let the ball go to the right of that bunker. If you go to the right, you're going to go into the water 80% of the time.
This won't go over? No. You don't think? Just stop.
And then he does the unforgivable.
Oh no. In the water at 12.
Oh my goodness. He's now having an absolute meltdown.
And his hopes of a second consecutive green jacket mayhem of Rays Creek.
This one will hurt. It'll take a while.
He isn't alone. In 2019, contender after contender went right and then went swimming. There was Brooks Koepka.
It cost Spieth back in 2016. Might have just cost Koepka today.
There was Ian Poulter.
We get the pain at 12.
You get the tragedies at 12.
Tony Finau.
This is incredible.
Something tricky has to be going on at 12. For 2 guys like that, world-class players, to be short and dropping one over the green. So you're certainly going to pay attention when you get to 12, but in the back of your mind, you already know something funny must be going on up there.
Meanwhile, Francesco Molinari came to the 12th hole with a 2-shot lead over Tiger Woods, but he didn't leave that way.
That hole, you either aim at the flag and you execute the shot perfectly, and then you might hit it close, but if you aim for the middle of the green and then it comes out right.
That was just so weak. That ball didn't even look like it was flying.
Seeing Molinari's ball go in the water may have helped us a little bit, because I think Tiger hit it probably more full than he probably would have had he not seen that.
Can Woods take advantage?
That's what Big Jack would say. If in doubt, you go in between the 2 bunkers.
It all flipped at 12. We were a couple behind. Francesco made a mistake. And then all of a sudden, all these different scenarios start flying around. And it was just an amazing buzz out there to try to figure out what was going on. It was, I kind of liked it.
You know, there's some times where you can hit good shots and they don't work out. And at the same time, it was cool to see Tiger win. You got to remove yourself from the situation and look at it. Wow, that was history right there.
This is the legacy of Golden Bell. Stunned looks and lessons learned.
Oh, you'll get over it. Everybody does.
Masters tradition of his own. When he's playing during this tournament, as soon as Tiger Woods hits his second shot on that par 4th 11th, he makes a beeline toward the green. Not so much because he wants to see where Tiger landed, but he wants to see what's happening on that 12th tee box and how those players are playing that hole and how the wind, Michael and Andy, is affecting those tee shots. Any little bit of information helps when you get to that 12th tee box.
Yeah, Gino, the wind's always a crucial factor in playing that hole. You wonder how it may differ here in November versus April. Take a look at the 12th hole by round going back to 2019. As Gino said, always plays over par, that par 3, very short hole. But look at those numbers we saw, especially on Sunday, Andy, when the field was plus 22.
Well, the players are so used to aiming at the pin that right back pin at 12. I don't care how you're hitting it or what you're doing, you should never aim it at that pin. You've got to take it over the middle of the bunker. And if ever there was experience does, last year was it. Tiger Woods, when he got up there, he was going over that bunker, and you could watch his swing. He just buried his right hand and made sure the ball didn't go to the right at all. Put it in the middle of the green, two-putted, and that's what did it. And what makes that whole play so difficult is that the winds come down the 13th fairway, and it hits up into the top of the pines and it spins around. So you don't have any idea if the wind is right to left, if it's left to right, if it's with you, it's against you. The one thing I always tried to do in that hole, it didn't matter what way I thought the wind was blowing, I tried to flight the ball a little bit lower so that if it caught up in there and spun around, you maybe at least had a chance to get it in that front bunker. But you never hit it to the right. Always put it over that front right bunker, and if it's short, it stays in the front bunker. If it's long, it goes in the back bunker. You still can play the hole. And that's what makes that hole so hard. And I guarantee you, Marty, you've seen some interesting stuff down there. Anything crazy yet today?
I haven't seen anything crazy yet, Andy. I didn't see anyone hit it in the water so far today since I've been down here. But as you see there in that amazing piece, it happens. And last year on Sunday here, last April, it was really unbelievable when Molinari goes in the water and all of a sudden you go, okay, maybe Tiger Woods will have a chance. I want to show you guys this. When Matt Kuchar was on 11 and walked over and said hello to me a bit ago, he noted to me the different consistency of the Bermuda grass this fall versus what they're accustomed to during the spring. And he said thereby the challenge of the shots will be different as well. So you see a lot of caddies and golfers taking a look at this and the difference in how those shots have to be addressed. Andy, you can speak to that.
Yeah, this is a different time of year. There's still enough Bermuda in there that the overseed hasn't come out 100% as it will in April, so that there's more Bermuda underneath, so it'll be a better surface to hit off of if it was just the rye winter grass. But at the same time, you're going to have some lies that you normally don't have. And as Tiger was talking about earlier, the biggest problem is going to be around the greens, where you have to play cute little shots, trying to hit little spinners, that kind of stuff. Out of the middle of the fairway, I think it should be no problem.
Well, Bryson DeChambeau looking for his first Masters victory. Of course, this would be his fourth appearance here, and his best appearance prior coming in was back when he was an amateur. But this was his tee shot on number one. We talked about those bunkers down the right side, Andy. His idea is to fly over or past those bunkers, and that's a deep line.
It's 310 yards to get over the bunker, and then there's a couple of big pine trees there that you might be able to also hit it over, which on the right, it opens the hole up dramatically. You see so many players hit it in the left trees off that tee because they can't carry the bunker. If he can carry that, it really might take the left trees out of play.
Jack Nicklaus said that if given the right wind, he could see Bryson putting the ball on the green on the first hole here at Augusta National.
Well, I think it's going to be so soft that you're not going to get a ton of roll, but he will be able to carry it 330, 340 possibly on this hole. And you know, it's hard to swing your hardest swing of the day on the very first shot. So if you're starting on one, I don't think we'll see it.
Well, what we have seen in 2020 is a completely different Bryson DeChambeau, and all his playing peers have taken notice.
The first time I saw Bryson after he bulked up, in one word, I thought of Hulk.
Huge. I just thought he was huge. He was jacked.
He's definitely got the thick. If he catches me on a light day and I catch him on a heavy day, he's got me by about 100 pounds. So, yeah, I can't add that much.
Beast. One word, swole. And I respect everything he's done a lot. It just looked like he had fallen down the stairs and he was just swollen.
Of course, the reigning U.S. Open champion is Bryson DeChambeau, and 6 players have won the U.S. Open and the Masters in the same calendar year. 21-year-old Jordan Spieth was the last to do it back in a fantastic campaign in 2015. Of course, DJ helped him out with that 3-putt on the last hole at Chambers Bay. Tiger won his 3rd Masters and 2nd U.S. Open in 2002. Both of those were 3-shot victories. His win at Bethpage Black marked an absurd 6th major victory over his last 9 contested majors. Jack Nicklaus won his 4th Masters and 3rd U.S. Open in 1972, and just like Tiger, both of those were by 3 shots. His win at Pebble Beach was his 11th career major victory and just 50 career major starts. And of course, the late great Arnold Palmer captured both titles in 1960, winning his second green jacket and his first U.S. Open. There were 2 of his 7 career major victories, 6 of which came in a 4-year span. And then Ben Hogan, 1953, he won the Masters U.S. Open and the Open Championship. He and Tiger in 2000 remain only players to have won 3 major championships in 1 calendar year. But Hogan also won the Masters U.S. Open in 1951, claiming his first green jacket and 3rd U.S. Open title. Both of those wins were 2-shot victories at the age of 38. And we go all the way back to 1941. Craig Wood won the Masters and the U.S. Open, his only 2 career major victories. Both were 3-shot victories. Byron Nelson and Denny Shute, the runners-up, respectively, in those 2 majors. So again, Bryson DeChambeau with a chance to join history. And you take a look at how he's been getting it done so far in 2020. It's just hitting it as far as he can. Most 350-yard drives since the PGA Tour restart in June, 104. That kind of blows out the next 2 guys behind him, Cameron Champ and Tony Finau, who will both be in the field here at Augusta National. Gene Wojciechowski rejoins us here. And, you know, Gene, you're an avid golfer. You got, like, golf club memberships all over the country because you are America's guest. But I'm not sure if you can relate to 350-yard drives.
If you give me 3 shots, I can relate to it, okay? You know, DeChambeau has made no secret of his quest to win the Masters. It's his favorite tournament. This is his favorite course. And he also hasn't made any secret of the strategy that he's going to take to try to do it. He wants to hit it harder and farther than anybody has ever hit it at Augusta National. If Bryson DeChambeau hit the ball any farther, it would have to file a flight plan. DeChambeau leads the PGA Tour in driving distance and outside-the-box thinking, and he's been thinking about how to overpower Augusta National.
From a driving perspective, I just am trying to get up there like I'm in a batter's box, swinging as hard as I can, trying to hit a home run.
You get more spin on your ball, you can control it better. And that's the reason why length is so big around Augusta. You have a little more width off the tee. At Augusta, it allows people to, you know, let loose a little bit and try to hit it a little further.
Distance makes a big difference. So if you have 315-yard carry or so, you're left with a lot less club into a par 5 and left with normally some eagle opportunities.
Brute force has always been an advantage at Augusta National. It helped win multiple green jackets for Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, and Bubba Watson.
If you can hit a shorter club into a green, that's always going to be an advantage, but especially at Augusta National, the greens are very severe, and having control of your golf ball is so key, and your second shots out there.
I think you saw that when Tiger dominated the course in '97.
A rhapsody of total appreciation and awe at a virtuoso performance like Augusta has never seen.
21-year-old Woods didn't just win the Masters, he redefined it.
There it is, a win for the ages.
Woods' average driving distance of 323 yards was 25 yards longer than anyone else. He hit an unheard of 11 wedges into 18 greens on Sunday. After he won by a record 12 strokes, Augusta National fought back, lengthening the course during the past 20 years by almost 500 yards.
Augusta National's never defenseless. I mean, you always have to pick your spots, and it's hard to get it in the correct places around the greens or on the greens, and that's what makes that place what it is.
Woods rendered it defenseless in 1997, and DeChambeau wants to do the same in 2020.
Number 3, I can get to the green. 7, this is a wedge shot. 10, it's a 9-iron at worst. Number 13, I had pitching wedge in. I mean, I cut the corner drastically.
You can take quite a lot of trouble off the tee out of play if you can carry it, 320 off the tee. A lot of the, the fairway bunkers at Augusta are much deeper than the fairway bunkers we encounter basically any other week. So if you can take those out of play, it all of a sudden makes your landing area so much wider.
According to several veteran tour caddies, DeChambeau's driving distance could give him a distinct advantage on as many as 10 different holes.
I'm playing the best I've ever played. I won a major, got that off my back, and there's a lot of great opportunity because of my distance now.
DeChambeau is presently playing a 45-inch driver, not to get too inside baseball here, but he's considering using a 48-inch driver. And his longtime coach, Mike Schy, says that if he does, that has the potential to add as many as 40 to 50 yards to his drives. Think about that for a second. And to give you an idea of his strength, he has never lifted weights, conventional weights, like bench press. He weighs 242 pounds, but recently he did the bench press. First time out, did 295 pounds. That is Andy North kind of lifting.
That's right.
I mean, that is athlete right there to be able to put that much iron up off the bench press. Gino, appreciate the time. Take a look at this graphic right here in terms of players who led the PGA Tour in driving distance and won a major that same year. And two of the longer guys of their generation, John Daly and Bubba Watson, did it twice. Bryson DeChambeau has done it so far here in 2020. Now, the thing that has stood out to me most from watching Bryson play in person a couple of times is, one, his ball stays in the air forever, so it's all carry. But he doesn't really spray it when he misses it. He may be in the rough, or maybe he's not hitting to the other fairway, though, Andy.
I think that's been the thing I've been the most impressed with, is the fact that he's driven the ball awfully straight. If you take a guy that hits it 250 yards and puts it in the fairway, and then put another 100 yards on it on that exact same line, there's very few times it's going to be in the fairway. And the fact that, well, their driving distance is down to 50%. Well, 50% at 350 yards is pretty darn straight.
Yes.
And even if you put it in the rough, you're basically talking about hitting a wedge on the green anyway. So I think he's figured out something that's really working well for him, and I think that's the biggest key. There's a lot of ways to play this game. Yep. He's figured it out for him.
He's going to play with John Rahm coming up on Thursday as part of his group, another guy who hits it really long. But how about this right here? This is the par 3 16th, and always during the practice rounds, the patrons ask the players to skip it across the water and see what happens. How about this one? Yesterday on the par 3 4th, he made an ace. Today's his birthday, and he makes this one, Andy, skipping across the water.
It's good to be John Rahm, and he's going to keep that. Don't aim at it now. Wait till the tournament starts.
Thanks for watching Tuesday at the Masters. We'll see you coming up Sports Center, 6 o'clock Eastern on ESPN.
This drink is more than a drink. It's a drink from McDonald's. Get any small McCafe like a caramel frappe or a large iced coffee for just $2 each.
We believe in coffee that opens more eyes to Black business. Make-believe made for everyone. A wave of confidence. A lighter load on the planet. Flavors that set a new course. And 100 shades of beautiful. We believe in good we can all afford.
So Reggie Miller moved into the Wendy's I work at. It's awesome.
Reggie's nice.
I would leave, but I can tell how much they love having me here. Did you know I scored 8 points in only 9 seconds?
Yes, Reggie, you tell me all the time.
I'm starting to think we made the breakfast too good.
Breakfast in bed. I love it here. I may never leave.
Hustle in and make this Wendy's breakfast offer your new pregame ritual.
Boom, baby.